that. And we were having a conversation in the garden the other day, and it just came in, let's share this with everybody because I feel it's happened in my system, and it's like it helped me a lot when we opened up the systems and revealed it. And then it's been coming into the sessions and the webinars I've been doing as well. It's something that we should be aware of. So yeah, really nice to connect with you, Lorie, in Kenya. We're in the one city at the same time, which is great. Yeah, it's really nice
We're
to be
both
here.
in
Really nice.
Kenya. It's really nice to be with you in the same city, and like really just feeling into and tapping into what's happening globally, collectively, globally. And yeah, this organic conversation just sort of happened with us around this kind of like spiritual battle or spiritual warfare, I like to call it, that's like in the unseen world right now, that I'm noticing. It sounds like you're noticing more and more in terms of the systems that you work with, how it is subtly, slowly, like a frog boiling in water, um, stopping our progress into our truest nature, our natural state of being. And because I'll just quickly share how I see it, because it seems like it's just behaviors that we're always doing, right? Laziness, not motivated, unworthiness, lack of money, whatever it may be. We're just like, oh, this is just what I think or how I behave. I've been doing it my whole life. And this kind of collective energy around us has been feeding that. And so as it feeds it, and especially if it's connected to the systems that we've been in and our ancestors and our traumas and all of that, of course, it's all connected. But if these energies can kind of feed off of the top layer of what we just go to, then it just amplifies this kind of poor me victim mentality. I'm just stuck in this kind of thing. And I think the point, like why we wanted to have this conversation, was to bring awareness to the unseen energetic world that is infiltrating, for lack of a better word, and how to combat it, how to become empowered in it, and how the work that you do and the work that I do sort of supports that. Um, because
Yeah,
it feels
and
like everything that we've been talking about and teaching for years sort of builds up to this crescendo of where we are in this unseen energetic battle within the systems and within our own bodies.
it's amazing as we were talking the other day, a tree came down even when we spoke about this in the garden. It was incredible. And I feel that in the system. I feel like there's this when I worked with it and work with people on it, it's really between the veil. It's the unseen, unphysical world, non-physical world. And as you say, it's normal. We make it normal. And the minute we say it's normal, we lose our power.
Yep.
So the minute we say, "Oh, that's me," I'm lazy, I'm not ready, I'm not enough, I'm below, that's the minute we feed this energy field, and you're capturing yourself. Or I wish victimhood, I hope that's the same
Mhm.
thing. So this is where your energy is being sucked, your soul information is being sucked, and then your potential is being used up. And it's almost like having an application on your phone open and it's running all the time in the background, but it's using up your juice. It's using up your battery, what you could create that day. And if you really reflect and be honest, and that's the issue, is really that we don't want to be honest um, with these things to say, oh, I'm actually distracting myself. I'm making excuses up. I'm not going to go for that walk. I'm not going to eat the right food. I'm not going to change my habit. I like that habit. I'm comfortable with it. This uses a lot of power, your soul power. Like time is precious. It's the biggest, the most precious commodity that we have is our time. We can't take it back. And when we're, instead of doing, being active and creating. And really, for me, this year is really about authenticity. It's about living from your essence. So, to live from your essence, you need to look at these points. The Spirit is saying, Damien, you need to look at these points in you and make changes because these are patterns you accept it as your own, but they're not really your own. It's not your essence. It's coming from dissociation. It's coming from dissociation from your ancestors. It's coming from a collective mindset of dissociation, of normalizing things which are actually absolutely not normal. And we saw that over the last few years, how things we knew was absolutely not normal was made normal from the media and from the collective. So the collective shadow. So I feel for really, if we, when we make, when we remember who we are and we connect to God, and as we're in that state of pure consciousness and pure wholeness, we have the power to change the whole system. And that is a part that we're forgetting, or we've been programmed to think we need an altar to get there, or we're not ready, or I can't because that organization is too big, too powerful. What I'm seeing here in Kenya is a very strong, for example, colonial wound, because it's very recent, the colonial wounds. And there was a bypass because it's very scary to go into a core wound of being constantly being abused. So what I noticed in, I'll say my friends and brothers in the Kenyan system, which are incredible people, that they're so intuitive and so powerful. But I do notice that they sort of like dissociate when they come across a white person and they have a feeling that, okay, well, they're going to beat us anyway. So there's a slight dissociation in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so that's what we all need to do. I feel like, and that's what Spirit's been guiding me to do, is to look at all my shadows, look at my dissociation, and then trace back. I call it mapping through the ancestral line. Where is my dissociation coming from? Because it's not all mine, it's also my ancestors or my aunts and uncles. So this has an impact on us. And I could have an uncle with an addiction, and then it fuels me up because I have a similar imprint to also carry that out or not make changes or not believe in myself. Or else, for example, if my family system's capped on a financial level or there's no leaders in my ancestral line, and now I'm going to be the leader, there's going to be a dissociation and also a disconnect in the system. So for me, it's interesting. I was talking to Washington yesterday about it because I was like, what? I wanted to use different names. And he immediately got it like straight away. He was saying the enemy of progress. And I was saying, it's when we're being blocked, when we're being distracted, but really it is an enemy of progress. And it's ourselves, it's in ourselves. And it's when we don't want to look at ourselves. We get comfortable in sitting on the sofa. We get comfortable in our addictions, our habits, our not feeling I'm ready yet. I'm not ready to write that book, but it's in me already. So or it doesn't feel right. This is a very important one, I feel, to look at and to address. When there's big change, I don't feel comfortable. So if I go my first response, my system will contract and feel very dissociated and say, Damien, don't go there. Don't go to that guy who's going to do a healing session on me or something, or don't go to that place, or don't take that choice. But the real reason it's happening and getting the contraction is because the part which is controlling me in my old habits is afraid of me being let free, and it wants to keep me in the old pattern. So it's my system feels like, yeah, it feels really wrong to go there. I'm not going to go because it feels off. But actually, my spirit wants me to go. But the dissociation part of my system is controlling me and keeping me away from that decision or that opportunity. And I see this a lot with many people. There was an amazing leader I worked with the other day, incredibly gifted. And she's like, yeah, I'm not ready yet. I was like, you're ready. Yeah, I have to work on myself. No, you don't. You're ready. It's like, oh, but, I'm not from here. Yeah, but you're ready. So the
Yeah.
system we make these excuses up all the time why we shouldn't make that move, why we shouldn't move forward, why we shouldn't speak out. It's a big thing to speak out in public, like what we're doing now. I know I used to be so afraid of talking to one person, never mind something like this. And so I needed to work through my past lives, my ancestral lives, my own childhood. I'm dyslexic in the system, so I also had that fear coming up in my system. So it wasn't until I worked through all these different imprints that were in me that I was feeling safe enough to communicate. And what always keeps me going in this work is, and to show up every day, is the fact that if I know that someone can be helped from this, that gets
Yeah.
my insecurities out of the way, my laziness out of the way, and my excuses out of the way. So, for example, I'm doing webinars. I, as Damien, don't want to do them. If I really go to that level and say, I prefer to go out and do, go out hiking, to go horse riding, to do different things. But the system, so I have a lot of resistance because I need to work through what's in my system. But my soul level wants me to do it. And that's what commit to, is this
Yeah.
soul part, and work through all the different topics and imprints which come up. It takes
Yeah.
consciousness.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because I think a lot of people are at that place where in order to step into that deeper sense of service and to almost break, not almost, to break free from the grip that the systems within you, the systems that you were born into, and the systems that you're standing in on the planet, meaning the governmental systems, the pharmaceutical systems, the medical systems, the health systems, the family systems, the relationship systems, all of these systems, you think about it, we're breaking out of that grip. But to bring it back to what you were saying earlier, the only way to break out of that grip and to feel of purpose, to feel as if you are, everyone, a lot of people want to feel as if they're making some sort of difference or they're doing something here on the planet. Um, you have to be able to be authentic in the fact that you're in a prison. If you pretend, I was saying this last night, I was like, if you have a bathing suit on and you're standing out in the desert, right? You're like, yeah, life is so good. And then all of a sudden it starts to snow, but you're going to pretend it's not snowing. Nope, I am so good. Like and you're like, no, it's freaking snowing. You must be cold. Like, can you just admit that it's freezing cold? No, I am, I am good. I'm contained, but I'll complain, right? I'll complain about it, but I'm going to pretend that everything's okay. So the link between authentically breaking down to like the death of like your client, right? Where it was like you have to die to the illusion of what you're trying to hold up and maintain. That's where the empowerment comes from. And in that empowered state, you start to hear soul or you start to hear God. It says, go do the webinars. You're like, I don't want to do the webinar, is the Damien that pretends that he's all good, right? But it's like, no, that separation between divine will and free will is only experienced and seen when there's a recognition that there is a divine will and there's a free will. There's an acknowledgement of the authentic free will that wants to do everything and wants to spend all the money on whatever it's doing and wants to pretend that it can't go work out. Or that authenticity has to be experienced. It has to be acknowledged in order for that separation to be seen, only for that wholeness to be felt. So then you can live in the authentic expression of what is in these systems and not let the systems get you.
And it's amazing. Like, a lot of people I'm working with, embodiment of the spirit. So for me, it's spirit told me, well, Jesus, you told me years ago, you must clean your cells, you must clean your body and these imprints in you. So I started to do that work. And a lot of people I'm working with, they give me like, when they clear them and they get in, the first thing they say is like, I feel very vulnerable. And that is it. That is when your spirit's in. But because we're programmed to know if it's uncomfortable, it's not okay, there's something wrong with me, then they're trying to go back. But actually, you have to change the mindset. So for me, everything is about first of all, accepting what's in the system, and as you say, the inner child, like all the imprints are from conception all the way up to 16, 17. That's where the imprints are created. And as a child, I can't get out of the house if mom and dad are fighting or it's not safe. So I dissociate and I create an imprint that everything's okay. I'm good. I'm happy. And I remember years ago, I was talking about this when I first started this work. A friend of mine says, I was like, yeah, my childhood was really good. Everything was fine. And he was like, what? And he went extreme, used the F word. You're so fucked up. It's like, all this. And I was like, what? So he starts smashing all these bubbles, illusions that I thought everything was good. I thought it was safe. So I needed to go back without blaming anyone and just say, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel nourished. I didn't feel safe to speak. And when I go back to that part, I'm going back to my true essence
Mhm.
and I'm going back to who I am. And then when you go back, then that part of you can be in the now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you're back in your true emotions, your true feelings, and your strength and curiosity and liveliness. I know when I started doing this work, I felt like I went from black and white to color. I was like, wow, it's like a movie every day. So it brings you into life. And it's to go through those illusions that I'm actually okay when I'm not okay. And it's not being a victim, it's simply accepting where I'm at. If I accept exactly the true feeling, a sensation, or where I'm at without masking it with something else, that's where the creation, the Fibonacci codes, God takes over and starts healing those fields, start transforming those fields. And then the body can release the frozen imprints and the cells release the frozen imprints. And then you go back into wholeness. So it's about honoring what's in the system in your cells. I was always told, Damien, look at the cells. You need to go to a cellular. So I worked with a lot with medicine and science in the past and stem cells, or our own stem cells, because I was told you need to get change on a cellular level. And to do that, you need to drop into the information within your cells. And I started to see that I had a lot of frozen imprints in the cells where I was not in the cell, I was hovering over the cells. So then the years I start working on getting myself into the cells. And, you know, it's like creating, if I get in, then I can hold space for you to get in. Like the work that you're doing, Lorie, you've worked your system a lot. That's why you can support others because you've got in, you work through the different emotions, the different patterns. And for me, at the moment for change, it's like first I need to accept what's in my system. And then I need to work through that imprint and realize, okay, it's a bit from my mom's side, my dad's side, maybe even past life or my childhood. So I work through the imprints. But when I work through the imprints, then I need to change my mind, my frontal lobe, how
Mhm.
I make choices, how I communicate, how I listen to myself. Can I listen? So I need to create new systems. To change a system, it's about creating new systems. But before creating new systems, I need to know what's in my system, know thyself. And what came in very strong was this invisible world, what we were talking about. And what came in for me since I've been in Kenya this time, and also I'm in Europe, was actually I've been programmed to think that everybody's good in the world.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's a big thing to accept that not everybody's good, and not everybody who's in charge is good, and not everyone in charge maybe wants health. Maybe they want to kill you. Okay. So they were big things for me to accept without judging the system. The key is never to judge the system, but know what system's there. And it was like that's a big thing for my system. I remember I was abused as a child by a neighbor, and I went to the neighbor, and he was making these model planes, and he gave me a gift of for blown bubbles, and I was about 6 at the time, and he gave it to me, and I was like, oh, an adult gives me a gift. This is such a I had so much love for this man, and I felt safe, and I felt I trusted. So I went back the next day, and the man took advantage and abused. Okay. But I needed to go back to the moment he gave me the gift. because there was a blind spot for many, many years up into my 30s in my system that I had a blind spot to see that not everybody is giving me something for the right reason. Because
Mhm.
I believe that everybody has goodness in them and they all are good. Okay. So I needed to go back to that moment. I was given the gift and say, he was grooming me.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the veil was released, and I start saying, oh, wow, now I see a different world. But I felt empowered by seeing, I wasn't scared. I felt empowered because I felt like something's been released from me, and now I can see what's really going on.
Mhm.
And since then, I've been sort of working through to reveal all these veils that are in me, and I've realized I'm full of veils. The way I see people, the way I see world, the way I see health, the way I see religion, the way I see politics, the way I see everyone. As is like all the veils are being released, and then I start seeing into the invisible world. And I start realizing that a lot of people know how to work in the invisible world, not for good reasons. And this is happening on a collective level. And this is where people are being programmed to think certain things. You know, it's wolves in sheep's clothes. So I started to be able to see through systems. And I always was told by Spirit, never look at face value. You need to look behind the systems in you first. And if you can do it in you, you can see all the way through to the soul level in everybody and every single system you look at. So for me, I'm not scared of systems that may be not in godly state, in the state of creation, which is evolution, and energies all have its place in the universe. But if I believe an energy is doing something and I'm wrong, and I keep going back to that energy field or that place or that person, or I repeat this pattern within me, unless I look at my true essence and work through these patterns, I'm going to start losing my time here, losing my energy here, and maybe I'm not going to do what I'm here to do. And that doesn't have to change the world. It's just change your own world and it'll change the world. So, I think that's a big thing as well, saying, oh, I don't know, I'm not like Lorie or I'm not like Damien, but you can change the system. And something I heard through, I wanted to send you something on this, Lorie. Someone I heard through uh, changing systems was, a priest who was saying prayer with some nuns, but he was saying them in covenant. And that covenant of them daily praying in covenant was changing the whole continent from people not choosing the wrong choices. It was cleaning the manipulation from the system. So you can make changes in your prayer, you can make changes in many systems. And, as you say, as you were saying, Laura, as well, like it could be just laziness. It could be just thinking, I'm not there yet. It could be thinking that I keep needing to work on myself before I support others or before I speak out, or I'm not ready, or that organization's too big. There's no organization too big. You can change every system. When you have God on your side, if you're going up against an organization that's not godly and you've God on your side, you can change the whole system and the deck of cards will collapse. And that's what we forgot. When we have Jesus on our side, when we have God on our side, everything which is not godly will be taken away. And that's what we forgot, that we are super powerful in our own systems, our own right, once we're true to ourselves and we're not doing it from the wrong place, like a people pleaser. I work with I'm working with a lot of organizations here making, changes, community changes and helping communities, helping, on many different levels. And it only works when you do it from the right place. If I do it because I want to be a good boy and I want to show my dad, my mom, and the community I'm a good boy, it doesn't work. But if I'm doing it really from my essence, that I feel I want to help this community, I want to make change, and I'm being true to my system, that will create massive impact in the physical realms, but also in the non-physical realms, and you will reclaim your absolute sovereignty of your freedom. And every one of us can do this. But first is to be real with yourself. And it's
Yeah.
not comfortable being real with yourself and also changing things in habits that you like, you know? That's the thing. Like a lot of us are stopped because I'm afraid of changing something because I don't know the unknown. I don't know what's ahead of me. In reality, creation is a void of emptiness, which has not got the safety to say, Damien, you're on the right track. Do you mean? Because you're in evolution. And I realize that being present is in a void of emptiness and it's evolution and it's before manifestation. But it's always going to take me to a higher place once I stay in my center. And
Mhm.
that's for example why I do a lot of work with leaders, because it's only about keeping them in their center, and then they're going to do great things. If they do it
Yeah.
from a wound, then they'll create separation. So,
Yeah. Powerful.
mm, mm, mm.
It's very
It's a,
powerful. I had this vision just now as you were speaking of when you're in your center, when you're in that place of creation, which is wholeness, which is connection to God, which is evolution, which is the most powerful place to be. You're free. So in that place, the vision I have, when we're in that space of fluidity, to just put it simply, presence. When you're in absolute presence, which means I'm aware of thought, but I'm not following the thought. I'm aware of emotion, but I don't need to change the emotion. I'm aware of the laziness, but I don't need to buy into the lazy. You're in presence, you're just aware of everything that's in movement. And when you're in that state, nothing can grab you any longer. So you're not a victim. You can't be a victim in presence. It's impossible.
it's
Uh,
impossible.
yeah, you
Once
can't.
you stay, the key for me is always, which I've been shown, is that I must stay in a state of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean I'm accepting that you abuse me, not at all. Acceptance that I don't feel it's not safe here. Acceptance that, oh, maybe that food isn't okay for me. So then the universe takes over, creation takes over, and then will bring me the good food, will
Yep.
bring me the right connection, you know? So if I say, oh, I want to fight that person who gave me that food, now I'm in separation. Okay, because now I've judged, I think I'm better than that person. But for me, always for me, I must stay in my center without judging the system, but knowing the system, accepting this is the energy. This is like when I work through the timelines, which is past, present, future. If it's like, if it's betrayal, for example. I just go to the frequency, touch the frequency, and stay in it, stay in it, stay in it. Betrayal. I feel betrayal. I accept betrayal. I accept betrayal. I accept betrayal. Now, then, as I'm in that field and I'm aware, it's important to open up your line, say my left side, my mom's ancestral line, right side, my dad's ancestral line, brothers and sisters alongside me, my children up front, past lives above me. And I go in and open up a frequency of betrayal and stay with it and sit with it. Then I will change the betrayal in me, my ancestors, my past lives, and the
Mhm.
future. And
Mhm.
then what will come back is safety, authenticity, my honor, my dignity, my self-respect, because my soul was out on that frequency. And then I go to another frequency of fear, maybe, and say, okay, I'm afraid. And it's all the part, oh, I'm not afraid, I'm a strong man. So if I can really go and say, I feel afraid, then I'm connecting to my inner child that was maybe, Damien wants to do a webinar, so go back there and get out of my way, so I'm separating from part of myself. So what I'm doing is I'm accepting there's a part of me that's afraid and I'm in fear, or I'm afraid of disease, dying, being alone, okay? And just simply staying with the frequency without being a victim, but staying with it. Now, because I'm staying with it, I am the creator. Okay. So now I'm not the victim, I'm a creator. And then the energy of fear will start transforming in every part of my system where I have fear physically, spiritually, through all the levels. And then I'm back empowered because a new piece of my soul will come in or back from a past life. So, for example, past lives are only open because a part of us wouldn't go into the transition channel because we're afraid or we're too materialistic or we I don't know, drowned in the lake because it takes time to drown, so we get out of the body. So it's like the soul, part of my soul would be in another lifetime. But for me, it's like just make transition through the cells and invite those parts back to my system. And then they come down into my system again. I can go back to that wholeness. And I'm watching the forest here at the moment. You know, a tree doesn't pretend to be a tree or say I'm not a tree or I'm a small tree. It's only about being yourself. That's the part that is we overcomplicate things. It's actually easy. If I can really accept who I am, what's in my system, and where I'm at, I will become whole again. And I will be then focusing on my wholeness rather than the injury or the imprint. But first is to say the imprint is here at the moment and I stay with it. And that will bring me back to wholeness. But if I ignore that there is a fear in me at the moment and I want to go back to wholeness, now I'm connecting to wholeness, but I'm not getting into the body because I don't fit in the body anymore. So it's only about making this vessel empty so I can go back into wholeness. And we have been manipulating ourselves. Our ancestors have been manipulating themselves, and we've all been manipulated to think that there's something wrong with us.
Mm.
We're
Yeah,
whole.
we need to
We're
fix.
whole.
We need to,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're there already.
yeah.
It's only about, for me, I don't know, I was always told by spirits and Damien, there's a rule book that you need to know. And once you know that rule book, it will get easy and you will understand what's going on. Because my system was confused, why I felt different things, why I felt emotions, why I felt blocked. And the more I've been working with the systems of saying, okay, there's past lives, there's past life systems. I always say it like the Empire State Building with different floors and different rooms. There's two elevators, one where I have to send the motion up, and one where when that's complete, when I get into the elevator on that room, then the soul part fragment comes back. And as I go through each of these past lives, the floor implodes and I'm becoming more whole. That's the past lives. Then the ancestral line, mother's line on the left-hand side, father on the right-hand side, is the systems which, the epigenetic work. The epigenetic work is my mom's fears, my great-great-grandmother's fears. Maybe she believed that men were no good. They're only good for children. That could be in me. And then I have this thing, well, I'm no good as a man, but it's coming from my great-great-grandmother. So that's the epigenetic work. Or they were in World War, a lot of the World War information is not resolved yet because they were dissociated. A lot of the men came back broken. So there's a there's a lack of trust between the male and the female. So it's only about working through the imprints from the epigenetics, past lives, knowing where the energies come from. And you don't even need to know, just accept there's different channels. Energy will always go back to the origin. That's the beauty of it. But it's just to accept, open up the lines here, open up the line here, and then open up your timeline from now to conception. And then the energies will go back to where they belong because creation will always help us to evolve. So Fibonacci codes, it always will help us to go to a greater place. And that's the trust I have in the universe that I know the universe has got my back. And I know if I have a wound with my mom, I'm going to be ungrounded. I know if I have a wound with my dad, I'm going to be disconnected from creation. I cap myself. So I just need to work with the wounds of mom and dad in the system. And then I'm connected to my channel and Mother Earth. So there is a sequence in the system. That's why Spirit was guiding me over the years with different, webinars, for example. They're just different levels of consciousness, which brings you back to yourself. And it's getting more simple. It gets more simple. It's like Spirit is simple, basic in a way. It's not overcomplicated. And we make it complicated and we make it dramatic. But actually, when you really just, if you can surrender into it, It's an awakening, it's a wholeness, it's uncomfortable, it's messy, it's scary, but you feel more empowered. And the more empowered I get, then my system starts showing me heavier things in me, like darker things in me that I haven't addressed, because my system will only open up what I can handle because it
Yeah.
wants me not to fracture. And I can handle them because I can handle them. They're not heavy for me. So that's the beauty of working on yourself or getting support, to work on oneself is that when you start working on your system, the safe part is that it'll only open what you can handle. And that is the beauty of it. And sometimes we need people to hold, like I have a few people who work with holding space for me, because I also know that if I work with my 5-year-old, for example, in the quantum field, my 5-year-old just thinks is here now. The energy is right here now. And if I can get somebody, if you're holding space for me now, which you're doing, Lorie, for me, it means that my 5-year-old was alone back there, wasn't safe. But now I'm with you, Lorie. Now my 5-year-old feels safe to stay in the body, and maybe feels safe to leave the room or the house. And now my 5-year-old comes back to me. So there is work to be done with all of us. I'd love to say it's a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix, but there is levels of consciousness which will help you become more whole. And that's why we're here. We're here to evolve and to make our system lighter and more whole. And it's beautiful because you start realizing that you can change the world. And that's not from an ego state. First you must change your own system. And each one of us can change the whole world. Like one drop in the ocean can change the whole ocean. And that's what we forgot. And when we really go back into that truth in us, then the simplest thing of meditating, of being truthful to yourself by working your own system, you will change the whole system around us. And then you can change. There's some people here, I don't know, like us, what we're doing, like we can speak publicly, but you also can do it by being at home with your kids, by, parenting your kids, by baking a cake. If you're really doing it from your being state and your true state, and you have that calling, every single action you make, when it's pure from your soul level, it will change all of us because we're all interconnected. And that is the beauty as well, that when you work with your separation, you realize that we're all supported. And there's a sequence of events which has been designed perfectly for me to evolve. Now that could be someone that sent to me to steal from me to clear that from my system. That there's theft in my system from my ancestors or from my childhood, which hasn't been resolved. So someone will steal from me. So every interaction for me is planned by spirit. Now, I know that's difficult for some people to hear if there was something very, very strong in the system. But I'd always say, what's behind the system and why did this happen to me? And how can I change the system? And it's really beautiful how spirit will always guide you to healing. The body knows how to heal. The body wants to heal. Your immune system knows how to heal. So, what do I need to do? If you really go through and connect to your body and your soul, it will tell you what to eat, what not to eat, take exercise. My system told me I need to do Pilates. I went to Pilates this morning. I need to go walking in nature. So I'm listening to my system, what food to eat, what food not to eat, what do I need right now? My system is guiding me, not what I've been told, but my system is guiding me. And this is for everybody. Sometimes it comes from the outside or the inside, but we're getting messages in multiple ways and it's always changing. And it's really to look deeper inside. Lorie,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's just powerful because whatever is arising for us in this moment, for the majority of us, it's going to be uncomfortable because we're in the process of evolution. We're in the process of change. It has to be uncomfortable. I think the problem with one of the programs that we really buy into is um, it shouldn't be uncomfortable, or so it shouldn't be uncomfortable as resistance, or judgment, which is resistance, or if it's uncomfortable, I need to figure out how to get out of it, which is resistance. And I think what you're speaking to in terms of opening the system. So when something comes in, you just go, you allow it to be in its most potent form, because then it pops the system, it pops the energy, it starts to flow. So there's a blockage when we don't want to accept, be authentic, feel into, and really acknowledge a system that's blocked within us. But everything that's arising right now in our lives is going to bring awareness to those systems within us that are blocked, where the energy is blocked. And so if we continue to resist it by judging it, it's bad, it's wrong, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I shouldn't, I should, etc. Or we are trying to bypass it, like you were saying earlier, and try to get out of it by going to some other space, then you're not you're not accessing the gifts and the power of what is being offered to you in terms of your natural evolution, which is just bringing you back into the natural state, which is what empowers you to be able to fight off the things that are going to continue to keep you in that disempowered, um, out of body, numbed out, detached, dumbified state that we continue to find ourselves in, that's sort of watering down our highest potential, our most empowered state. You got to go into the uncomfortable. In fact, I am elated when the uncomfortable comes in over and over, because I'm building my muscles. I'm getting stronger and stronger to be able to be in the intensity of this human experience. I mean, we're this soul, we're this magnificent God in this dense physical reality that has massive amounts of programming and systemic forces that keep us down and out of alignment. And so the more that you can face those within ourselves and outside, the more we can see it, the more we can acknowledge it, the more we can say, wow, yeah, these things are happening. This is uncomfortable. But whatever it is, uh, the more armor we sort of have on in terms of being able to continue to be in and see uh, everything we don't want to be in and see. It's so simple. It's just being in what is.
It is, it is. And also what, like going back to what we were originally talking about, revealing the enemy of progress, for example, it could be, say I know your system, Lorie, and just say you had a topic, I don't know, with your mom or your dad, okay? A specific topic, and I know that emotion. What I could do if I'm an enemy is all I need to do is activate that emotion in you, okay? And then you won't show up because you're out of your center. Okay. Now, I can fuel that to you, and then that's going to knock you off your system, out of your center. And maybe you won't go up and show up, live because of that. Okay. So that is what I realized in the systems, that there actually is an intelligent, really, really super intelligent uh, people, energy, fields around us that knows exactly all my weak points and knows when to press them, that Damien may not show up or may not do that webinar or may get sick or something. So they know how to open up the wounds in us. And a simple example of that could be the news sensationalizing climate change, that all the weather programs have red. What's that doing in your subconsciousness? That's scaring the living daylights out of you when you see on the map the world is red. Oh, it was never red before. But actually, it's the same temperature as before. It's just now they put it in red. Okay. So that's opening up all our wounds of, fire, uncertainty, any past lives, or this, my ancestors were in earthquakes or disaster. We all have in our ancestral line ancestors who were in war, who lost their home, who lost people around them. So now, as soon as you see the red on the news, the weather forecast, now all those systems are open. Now I'm in a wound. So now I'm in fear. So I'm out of my creator part channel, and now I'm operating from fear. So all the fear wants to know is the wounded child is like, how do I get out of it? And you say, oh, Damien, you need to do this, take that injection, take this, take that, get a chip. Uh, don't eat the meat. You're spoiling the climate. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah. So I've gone out of my system. I've gone out of my channel now, and now I'm going to conform to whatever I'm being told because I'm out of my system. I'm in fear. I'm in the wound, and it's only about me saving me. And I will do anything. Lorie, what should I do? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Put on a mask. Do this. Put on, don't go out in the sun. All these things, and I'm going to believe it. And now I'm disconnected to my knowing and I'm grounded and I'm saying, oh, but why did that happen? Oh, because the cows are farting. Oh, really? Okay, the cows are farting. We must stop eating meat. Oh, they have an injection to stop the cows farting. Give them the injection. Okay. So now I'm like in fear and I'm agreeing with everything. But actually, if I'm in my meditated state and I'm in my center, I'll say, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is not creation. What do you mean stop cows farting CO2? This is ridiculous. So I start realizing, oh, there's HARP. Hang on, they're messing with the weather. They're manipulating the weather. And then they're telling me to stop eating meat. If you want to eat meat, that's your choice. But it's like, stop eating things because you're messing with CO2. Actually, you're creating the fires. You're changing the weather. You're poisoning people. You're putting stuff in the injections. You're changing the food. You're putting poison in the food. And you're telling me you want me to be healthy? So that's where the level, it's very, very hard to know. It's very hard to accept. The biggest thing for me to accept, and I had so much resistance for years, and I work with doctors, and my best friend, best friends are in the medical system and scientists, and Dr. Pavlovsky as well. And I remember when Dr. Pavlovsky was telling me for years about what was happening in certain injections. I was like, yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. My system was like this, okay? And it took a lot to face because I couldn't accept in my ancestral line, the doctor is God. Doubt shall not question the doctor. And as a child, I start questioning doctors, and they used to throw me out of the office nearly because I questioned everything they told me. And in Ireland, the doctors didn't like that. They were insulted that I would ask questions. Why you give me that? What is that for? What's the side effects? Why do you want to do that? I would keep asking questions, and they were going crazy with me. So, but in my ancestral line, it was like, how dare you ask the doctor? How dare you ask a question? And I was simply asking a question. I wasn't doubting the doctor. I was asking a question. What is the ingredient? What is that going to affect my body? Why do you want to do that with me? What effect is it going to have? Can I eat something to change it? So I was asking these questions, but I was getting a lot of resistance back. And even from my parents, it was like, it's like, shut up, you just take your medicine. So for me, it was really hard to accept that maybe what the doctor's giving me is poisoning me. That was a huge one for me to accept. Maybe there's someone actually who's done science and realized it's killing my liver, for example. Okay? That was a very hard one to accept because then I have to say, oh my God, I gave to my kids. I took it, my family took it. So it's like that is a really, really hard one to accept in the system. And that's even very hard. My friends are doctors. It's very hard for a doctor to accept that the doctor put something in the system which may kill people.
Right.
So this is a very big system too. So it's easier to dissociate and not go there. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to feel that. So when I really went there, I was set free.
Mhm.
And then I started to see things in a different way. And I started saying, well, my immune system's very strong. Mother Earth's very strong. The food is healing me. Once I get the clean food, I know how to heal. My body knows how to heal. So I started to realize that, oh wow, I got a cold because it's making my immune system stronger. So I started to realize that spirit was guiding me on healing. And I started, but I still had to break through. It's like levels of consciousness of programming that was in my system. And it wasn't easy to go down the wormhole because all the time was, you're crazy, don't believe it, it's not true. So, that's where It's hard to believe that someone would put something in the food which is poison. No matter how much proof we have that there's fluoride in the toothpaste. I go to dentists here, my hygienist here, and I'm telling them, no, I'm not taking fluoride in the toothpaste. And they're like, well, it's good for your teeth, your cavities. I'm saying, but it's bad for my brain. You're going to affect the pineal gland. They were like, no, 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 that's ridiculous. It's such a small amount. It's not going to affect you. It is affecting me. I can feel it's affecting me. I'm not making it up. My body's telling me, my soul's telling me. But the systems are so, we are so programmed to believe in the science. I had someone with science yesterday and it was like, yeah, one of my very close friends is a scientist who's been bought over and gets all the science because he's getting all the funding. And he will put what they want in the funding. Yeah, yeah, but it was science. But your science is being bought. They're not going to pay, pharmaceutical will not pay for science if it's, not going to suit their agenda. So these are the hard questions we need to ask and realize, the talcum powder my mother was putting in me as a child is poisonous,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Of course, if it was my mom, I wouldn't want to know that the talcum powder that I was putting in my child is poisonous. That's a big one to look at and to accept without dissociation. And this is the truth that is difficult to face. And if we cannot go there, we will keep poisoning ourselves. If we don't go there, we will make no change in the world. And it could be as simple as that. Just simply go to the talcum powder your mother put on or you put on your children. And if you can truly accept the agreement, the ingredients are poisonous in the system, then you will have a massive freedom in your system and empowerment in the system. And then your system will start breaking free of all this programming that's been put into our systems. Because what is happening in the world at the moment is a massive awakening. And the collective shadows up, the collective manipulation, the collective dissociation is up. I don't want to see, I don't want to know. It's easier to just make myself busy. Busy with a job, busy going to the gym, busy with dating, busy with sex, busy with purchasing. But actually look at the system, face your system. It's hard to look at it, but if you look at it, it's setting you free. And it's beautiful and it's empowering and it's liberating. And we go back to, it's so easy to grow your own food, for example. It's so easy. It's so easy not to purchase, my dad, going shopping in the supermarket, there's all organic food there and there's other food that's poison, knowing that's poison, but it's very hard for him to go to the organic. But it's easy to go to organic. I know they made it super expensive and it's difficult for families to feed organic, but we can make change and we can do, farming among friends. We can make a change. And we're here in Kenya and you can see yourself, Laura, like we've been programmed to think Kenya's third world. Like if I go up to, certain areas in here in Kenya, they are so wise, so intelligent, so free. A lot of them don't have smartphones, thank God, and they're on the old phones. They don't need food. They're growing their own food. They don't need medicine because the children know what herbs to detox their bodies and how to heal their systems. They don't need, the only thing is they need some basic stuff like oil or some basic stuff, but they're free. And, this is supposedly third world. And then I go to Ireland or Greece and we think we're above. Actually, we're very primitive because we've disconnected from nature. We've lost our food. We've lost our health. We've dissociated our system. I know myself, I'm doing it myself. I'm ordering, I love cooking for myself and, getting good ingredients and that. When I'm in Greece, I'm ordering from an app because now I can order from restaurants. So it's like I'm losing that contact with the food. The food is our medicine. Where I'm here, I can get really, really good food in the system, which is healing my body and I can feel it. And
Yeah,
it's
and you
very,
cook more too. You cook more. You're back to the natural state way of being. The more they can make it easy, I mean, the mark of the beast, which is really what's going to take down this whole planet, is uh the eventually it's the chip that will be placed in, but what they do up until that point, which we've been seeing, is they're going to make life easier for us. So that's what you really want to start paying attention to, even if it's difficult to acknowledge the dark and to acknowledge that your doctor, is injecting you with something dangerous, or, the government's lying to you and wants to actually hurt you or trying to control you. If those things are difficult to understand, then just think about this. Anything that is being fed to you that's going to make life easier is actually what is going to destroy this entire planet. And so that is what we really really want to pay attention to. We don't want to start following, oh, well, this is just easier. You don't have to pull your wallet out. This is easier. You just scan your eyes. This is easier. You don't have, you want to literally question what in the actual fuck is going on here, because that is the slow breadcrumbs to the absolute takeover of this entire planet, which is the mark of the beast, which is where humanity's going.
Absolutely. And also,
It's
Laurie,
scary.
as well, exactly the word easy, but I'd say another word, acceptable. It's normal. Okay. The
Yeah.
minute you accept that politicians are corrupted, okay, now you've lost your power. Okay, because you've accepted it in the system. It's like an abuser. I accept an abuse is in my family line. So that means that I'm not free of abuse now because I've accepted it as my own. And the mark of the beast says, well, you accepted it. You've accepted that your politicians are corrupt and are like, they're doing prostitution. Okay.
Mhm.
So the minute you accept, for me, it's not acceptable that a politician is corrupt. It's
Right.
not acceptable that they've been bought over by companies. A politician is paid by us to take care of us. A leader is meant to be there for the community. That is not acceptable. It's not acceptable that medicine is poisoning people. It's not acceptable also to, over here, for example, the Gates Society, they got into Kenya, they bought over the president. Okay. So there's a pushback in the system here at the moment in Kenya because the people of Kenya are very intelligent and very awake, and they know that Mr. Gates' injections into the cattle is going to destroy the food chain. They know that. Now there's pushback at the moment, but the wound in the moment in the system, I feel, is the colonial system where they believe that the whites always beat them. So the system now, we can change the system and we can push back the system. And you can go to the butcher and say, I'm not buying the meat if those cows are injected. Okay. I go to the supermarket. If you take any of those products in, I'm not buying from you. I'll grow my own. And people here in Kenya can do that because
Yeah.
there's fertile land. So when you can ex like not accept the system of corruption, say, yeah, there is corruption, but it's not acceptable. There is, corruption and it's not acceptable. There is politicians that are not there for us. There is politicians connected to the World Economic Forum that are puppets and are not here for our common good. So when you realize that this is not acceptable, then you stop them in their tracks and you break that deck of cards, because this is not creation, this is separation. And when you can accept that this is not acceptable, that our governments are being ruled by the World Economic Forum, for example, or the WHO, okay, then you change the system. But we first must realize that this is not acceptable. It's never acceptable in the system. And I don't accept it in the system. I accept it's here, but it's not acceptable. And it's not creation. And it's not okay. And that is what I feel we all have to do. Everything's been normalized in the system. Oh, it's always like that. No, it's not always like that. No, it's not. We can change it, and it's not acceptable. And we all can change the system. So it there's many things I feel we need to look at. It's not acceptable what happened in LA. with the fires, for example. It's not acceptable that they went on for so long. It's not acceptable that supposedly a natural fire would not burn a building with blue roofs or umbrellas with blue that are blue. Okay? That is not normal. So I need to ask questions. What created the fires? Is there something else there in the system? And that is the danger when we accept, oh, it's just like Hawaii. Oh, it's just like LA. That's when we're down. That's when we lose our power. No, it's not normal and it's not acceptable. I live in Greece during the summer. The fires are being set by man every summer. They're not natural fires. They're not natural forests. And the funding from the government, even the government's making so much money on tourism, is taking away the funding from the firemen. Now, I spoke to the firemen on front of a fire there last year, and the fire was close to the city. And I says, where's the planes? Oh, we don't have the money. Why aren't you over there? Oh, we don't have the money. Okay, that's not acceptable in this system. It's not acceptable that our skies are being sprayed with aluminium and God knows what else. That is not normal and that's not acceptable. And until we go to the point of saying those skies are not normal and that's not acceptable, that is when we change the systems and we change the collective system. But we must change it and make that realization in us first. And then when we do it in us, then we can say that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
And
Awareness.
everybody, the pilot has blood on his hands. The people who handle the medicine who's poison also have blood on their hands. So we all have blood on our hands, and it's time to clean up the systems and take ownership of what blood we have on our hands. Because we're here for our
Yeah.
future ancestors, and we have all our ancestors supporting us. And I really want to evoke in Kenya all the ancestors of the tribes, because they're the
So
tribes who basically were so protective of their food chain. And now there's a
yeah.
corrupt system moving in here. So I would really like to call up the ancestors and the tribes and say, protect your land and protect your food and bring up the power in your people because your people are sacred. Your people are stronger than the shadow, than
So
these
much. Well, we all
organizations.
are. I mean, we all are
All
stronger than, you
and
know?
that is what I'd like to really evoke on a world level is the ancestors' power to break these systems because we're
Yeah.
not alone. We've millions of ancestors with us, and we are the legacy of the ancestors, and we can change the whole system. And we're in creation, once we're connected to God, once we're connected to Jesus, everything, the shadow disappears. You cannot confront the shadow. You cannot take away when you're in the godly state, when you're in creation and your channel. So I
Yeah.
think it's a huge time that we evoke our ancestors, evoke the power of our spirit of God within us, and change these systems, change them, because we can do it. We all can do it as a
And we're going
collective.
to.
And
We'll do it. We're doing it. It's just slow, slow,
happened, well,
slow
it happened
process.
just now. I could feel the energy change when we just spoke it out in
Yeah.
the visible worlds. So
I
yeah,
think
it's
that's why authenticity is so important, being authentic in what we're in. And really, I think that's why we wanted to have this conversation is just kind of, just bringing out what we're actually in and the just speaking to it,
and
speaking to
seeing
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When we see it, we're free. There's
exactly.
nothing
Exactly.
to fear. When we see it, we're free. When we know it's there, we're free. And
Yeah.
once you're free and you can see, you can't close your eyes again. You
No,
can't
it's
be
just more
manipulated.
awareness, more awareness, more. We're just gonna keep peeling back, peeling back, peeling back, peeling
Yeah,
back.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
So yay. I loved it.
thank you, everyone. And it's yeah,
Powerful conversation.
and already I think really the most important thing to take from this is to realize you've so much power in your system, your
Yeah.
ancestors, you, and don't be afraid to look at the truth. And also, please, I invite you to not accept anything which is not creation and look in your system first and change that within you, accept that within you, and you can change the world. You will change the world alone. You are
Yeah.
powerful and you are a leader and you're a creator.
And don't be afraid. I mean, if you're afraid, be afraid, but like, whatever's arising in your world is giving you the tools, it's giving you the strength, it's giving you the ability to not fall for the fear tactics and the
Yeah,
control tactics and all of
yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
it's in your everyday life that you're being gifted these opportunities for empowerment and growth and all of that. So, yeah. Awesome.
Beautiful.
I love
Eh,
you.
Love you too, Laurie. Thank you.
I,
I'm actually doing a webinar on revealing the enemy of the progress.
you
So
are?
yeah. I'm going to release
Oh,
it
good.
later. Spirit told me
What are
to
you
do
going to call it?
revealing the enemy of progress.
Oh.
So I'm going to it's 4 webinars. It's going to be teaching you how to see it, how to change it. And then always, that's one part we missed, was that when you see that you were giving your power away over the years, then it's to build up your system again. So it's like reinforce your system and build that core strength, that power within you. So I'm going to work with not only revealing it, but to reestablish your core, your pillar, and to reclaim sovereignty of your power. And that is what I really want to go into, is to realize that, yes, we were doing it, but do we realize how powerful we are? Do we know how much power is in our system? That we are super powerful, and then to really reclaim our sovereignty of our soul fragments and really bring that gift back in. So
That'll be
that's what I'll be doing in the webinar. Yeah, yeah. Great time to be here. Thank you,
good
Laurie. And
time.
you're
Yeah.
doing your retreat soon as well, aren't you?
Yeah, my retreat's in a couple weeks.
Nice. That's going to be
Excited.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so much fun.
Thank you,
So,
Laurie. Thank you, everyone.
okay.
Talk
Bye
to you soon.
everyone. Love
Bye.
you.
Love you too. Bye.